Every single gurus and mentors will tell you to just be disciplined and you'll make it in trading. I'm gonna tell you why that's bad advice and why it's actually making you a worse of a trader. Now, I'm not saying don't have any discipline as a trader because discipline is a key factor when it comes to success in any field. What I'm saying is just telling someone to be disciplined without the how is just not a good advice. It's like telling a fat person if they want to lose weight, then just eat less. It just doesn't make sense, right? So instead of just being disciplined, you need to create a system and process that you can replicate and follow every single day so you'll not even need to think about being disciplined every time you come to your screen to trade. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you guys about how to easily create a system and process that you can have in place every single day when you're day trading and make trading discipline second nature to you. All right, so we have all been there, right? It's Sunday and you're telling yourself, this week I'm going to be more disciplined, I'm going to follow all my rules and be the most disciplined trader in the world. And then Monday you're doing good, and then Tuesday comes, then you're back to your old habits and you're just trading emotionally and you blow all your accounts, right? So we have all been there, especially if you're a new beginner trader. It's part of the process, right? So discipline is actually not your problem, right? Because discipline is not a trait, it is a system, okay? And 95% of traders fail from having a poor process and not a bad strategy. There's thousands and thousands of trading strategy and all of it works, right? To some extent. So it's not the strategy that's bad. It's just that you don't have a good system and process in place. And nobody relies on willpower alone. If you go to any hedge fund or even Wall Street, there's nobody that trades with willpower. They all have system and process in place that they follow every time they take a trade. So 100% of the consistency comes from having a clear system. And most traders do not fail because they lack discipline. They fail because they lack a defined system that removes the need for discipline. Trading discipline should come to you naturally, and in order for that to happen, you need to have a system in place that you can follow every single day. So the problem with just be disciplined is that willpower pretty much runs out, right? We have a finite self-control per day, and you will break some rules at a certain time, right? It's biology. It's given, right? It's not weakness. Everyone in this world will break some sort of rule, and it's not weakness, okay? And when your willpower runs out and you lose self-control and you start to break all your rules, you start blaming yourself and you go into this emotional spiral and start breaking more rules, and you start trading more emotionally, and it will just compound over time and you'll just be in that cycle, right? So no clear structure means there's no consistency in your trading. And without a predefined rules, every decision that you make, it just feels like it's under pressure, right? And when you're under pressure, when you're stressed, you tend to go back to your old habits. And when the market moves against you and you take some loss, you start, going back to your old habits of just, trying to get that loss back and trading emotionally, and then you end up blowing your accounts, okay? So only a built system overrides them. A clear system and process will beat willpower every time, right? A willpower will run out eventually, but a clear defined system will never run out. So there's two different approaches to trading, okay? The first one is the bad approach, which is you're making a decision in the moment, right? You're in the market, you're looking at the chart, and you see something happen in the market, you're making a decision in the moment, which is not good at all, okay? And you're trading based on your feelings, right? The way that you feel when you wake up, and maybe you feel good and you oversize, maybe you feel bad and you start taking random trades. You stop whenever you feel like it, so you don't limit yourself from taking losses. You just keep going and going and going until you feel like it, right? And then you review your trades randomly. You don't review your trades often, and you probably only review your wins. You don't review your break evens, you don't review your losses. So that is a very, very bad approach to trading. Now, the correct approach to trading with this predefined and clear system is first, rules defined before market open. Even before market opens and you start looking for trades, you need to have defined rules set for yourself, okay? Exact setups only, no exceptions. So as I said, before market opens, you need to have clear rules that you follow. You'll need to structure some sort of setups that you're going to be looking for going into the session, right? So this is why having a pre-market routine and pre-market time where you can analyze the market is going to be very important. Myself, I spend about 30 minutes every single morning analyzing the market, getting ready for the session, and I will only take trades that I have already defined during my pre-market analysis, right? And having hard stop rules enforced every single time you take a trade. Now, this does not mean having a hard stop loss for every trade that you take, because you can take a million trades a day and have hard stop loss on every single trade, right? What I'm saying here is that you need to limit yourself. You need to know when to stop trading, right? So maybe if you take 2 losses in a row or 3 losses in a row, then you'll stop trading for the day, right? So having this in place is going to be important. Log every single trade immediately. Do not wait until end of the day. Do not wait until end of the week to journal your trades. Every time you take a trade and you're done with the trade, take a screenshot and journal it, put it into your journal so you can review that and get better every time. So if you are a newer trader or someone that has been kind of going in a cycle of just, over trading, blowing up accounts, not finding any success, there's only 3 patterns that repeats over and over again, okay? And each one has rules, not motivation. Motivation runs out, but the rules does not run out, right? So the first habit, first pattern that people are stuck in, especially newer traders, is the boredom trading. Basically, you're forcing trades that are not even there, right? Trades that does not align with your strategy, with your checklist, with your system, and your brain rationalizes close enough setups after watching the screen for hours. Basically, what that means is that you're sitting in the computer for hours and hours and hours, and you just don't, you're not in any trade. Then you start getting bored, and then you start just executing random trades that doesn't even line up with your setups. Okay, so to fix this, what we need to do is we need to have a clear checklist that cannot be completed unless real setup is presented. So like I said earlier, having a pre-market routine is going to be helpful because you can create a checklist, right? If A happens and B happens, then I will take a trade, right? Let's just say if A happens but B doesn't happen, then no trade for me, okay? So this is going to be very, very important. Now, second type of habits or patterns that a lot of traders cycle in is FOMO trading, right? This is where you're chasing late entries after missing the actual move, right? You enter too late and get stopped out into a reversal. So basically in this scenario, what usually happens is that you have a predefined checklist maybe, right? And you see the setup form, but you hesitate or you don't take the setup for some reason. Maybe you were doing something else, and then you see the market move in your direction, then you start chasing it because you missed the move, and then suddenly the price comes back down against you, and then you take a loss. Okay, so we don't want to be a FOMO trader. So to fix this, what you need to do is, first of all, again, have a checklist, right? And if you didn't enter at that predefined level of that's on your checklist, the trade is no longer valid. It just doesn't exist. You have to force yourself to wait for the next trade. Okay, there's going to be thousands of opportunities that will present in the market throughout the days. So missing one trade doesn't mean end of the world, right? There's always going to be the next opportunity you can look for. Okay, now third type of pattern that traders fall into is revenge trading. Okay, this is where you're in a trade and the trade goes against you and you take a loss on it. And a lot of the newer traders, what they do is they get emotional and they see that their P&L is down. Now what they do is they size up and try to chase the P&L and try to make that back. They're taking revenge in the market. They're saying, fuck you market, I'm gonna get my money back, right? We don't want to do that. So if you do that, 1 loss becomes 2, 2 loss becomes 3, 4, and then you eventually just end up blowing your account. So to fix this, position size stays flat and decreases after any loss. So do not increase size after you take a loss, right? So in order for you to not fall into this trap, you need to not increase position, right? So like I said earlier, we'll go into sizing and everything like that in a little bit here. Having a clear checklist, right? This is not only for a setup itself, but it's also for risk management, right? How much are you willing to lose per trade, and how many contracts are you gonna enter per trade, right? So having a predefined position sizing will help out. And even after you take a loss, you could also decrease the size of the next trade, so that way you don't end up losing more. Okay, All right, let's talk about building a checklist. So a checklist is not something you just write down and forget about it, right? You need to actually make it clear and put it right in front of you or even your screen and look at it every time you're trying to take a trade. If the price action or if the setup does not match your checklist, you don't take any trades, okay? So some of the things that you can do with the checklist is exact setup is presented. So when you're looking at the trade, there's going to be levels, there's going to be areas of interest, confirmations, confluences you need to put into the checklist. And if that is not presented and if something looks close enough to your checklist, you don't want to take it, okay? It needs to match fully to your checklist, okay? And risk is fully defined. So as I said earlier, checklist is not just only for setups, it's also for risk management too. So basically what that means is that how much are you willing to lose for that trade, right? How many points, points are you gonna put your stop loss at? How many points are you gonna put your TP at, right? What's your RR for the trade? When are you gonna go break even? So make sure that you have this all calculated. You don't need to calculate this like 100%, right? Because market moves differently every time. So just having a clear understanding of how much you're losing per trade is going to be very helpful. All right, next thing is having a neutral mindset. So basically what that means is that you're coming to the market and you're taking a trade, your mindset and your emotion stays neutral. Okay, when you take a loss, you don't get all angry and frustrated because you took a loss. Okay, that's not how a professional trader trades. And when you take a win, you don't get overconfident and start sizing up and feeling all happy and stuff like that. Stay neutral, act like nothing happened, and move on. Okay, and make sure that price is at a certain key area of interest. So when price is not at a key area of interest, you don't take a trade. So maybe, for example, you're trading ICT and you're looking for a liquidity sweep, and that's the only setup that you take. You need to wait for a liquidity sweep. If we don't get a liquidity sweep, don't take the trade. You only take the trade when it's in the key area of interest, okay? And also having a daily loss limit. So if your personal loss limit for the day is hit, the session is over for you, right? So on the checklist, you're going to tell it, write down how much you're willing to lose per trade, right? And how much are you willing to lose maximum for the day? And if that loss limit hits, you're done for the day. You just close your computer, go do something else, watch some YouTube videos, maybe meditate, maybe go to the gym, right? And also lastly, we need to have confirmation tool, right? So you can't just enter at any key area of interest, right? So for example, if it comes into your support resistance, you can't just blindly short here, right? Or long. You need to have some sort of confirmation tool that will help you make that trade stronger. So now let's talk about the risk system, right? So I'm going to give you some examples here of how much you can risk and what to do and stuff like that with your risk management, okay? So the daily loss cap. So for example here, let's just say for me, I'm trading a 50K funded account and I'm only going to be taking 2 losses per day. If I take 2 losses, I'm done for the day. I'm not going to force any more trades because there's more opportunities that will present next day, okay? And for example, let's just say I'm risking $200 to $300 per trade times 2 losses. That's $400 to $600 per trade per day. And if I hit this loss limit, I am done for the day. No matter what, I'm gonna force myself to just close the computer and just call it a day because I want to survive and trade the next day. I don't want to blow up the account the same day and not have another account to trade tomorrow. After 2 losses in a row, fully stop, close the platform. 2 losses in a row means you're out of the sync. More trading only compounds the damage. So when you take this 2 losses in a row, many traders, what they do is they will look at the chart, try to take another trade to make that losses back, and eventually just lose more and more and more, and it will just compound and just blow up the account. Okay, and if I have a winning day, right, usually if the first trade is a win, I just stop. I don't get overconfident and try to trade again and give my profit back. I just say, okay, you know what, I made my money for the day, I'm done, right? So just make sure that you limit yourself on both ways, losing and winning too, okay? Have some non-negotiable rules. So when you hit your limit, close the platform immediately. Do not open the computer or your phone to check back what the market is doing. Do not watch because you're gonna get FOMO and you're gonna end up just trying to, take a trade. So say one more trade and then you're just gonna end up taking it. No exceptions ever. So not even when a perfect setup forms, do not take the trade, right? If your limit hits, even on both sides, win and loss, there's no exception, right? You don't take the trade even if it's a plus 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 perfect setup that forms, right? And never increase position sizing after a loss. So we already talked about that. Track your execution and not your money, right? So like I said, log every trade, grade every trade, review them every week. So this is just an example of how you can log it, right? You can grade your trade A, B, C, F, right? Depending on how the execution was there any deviation? Did you rush the process? Did you break any rules, right? So just grade it, and then at the end of the day, end of the week, you can review that trade and become a better trader for the next session, okay? All right, so you need to stop measuring profits and instead measure the process, right? The single shift changes how you trade, improve, and stay consistent, okay? So I know, especially if you're a new beginner trader who is not having any success in getting payouts or making profit, will only tend to look at profit itself and determine your success based on that, right? And the main goal of trading is to make money overall, right? But if you only focus on making money, if you only just pay attention to the money itself, you will never make any improvement and you'll never, become consistent. So the old mindset is basically just the outcome-based mindset, right? So it's like, how did I make any money? Was I green today or was I red today? Did I win more than I lost? Am I up in the month? How much did I make this week, right? So you need to get rid of this old mindset and focus on the new mindset, which is the process-based mindset, right? And this is important, especially for beginner traders. Basically, what it entails is, did you follow your checklist? Did I respect my loss limit, daily loss limit? Did I trade only my exact setup on the checklist, right? Did I journal every single trade that I took? What was my average trade grade, right? So if you focus on the process itself, right, follow your system every single day, this will lead to consistency. That means you're able to repeat this system every single day when you're trading, and eventually this will lead to profit. I promise you that. After you finish the video, I want you guys to do this immediately, right? Start tonight or before the next session. Build your pre-trade checklist, right? So conditions that all must be true before you enter a trade, right? Whatever strategy you're trading, make sure to put that in the checklist, right? Whether it's ICT, supply, demand, order flow, and if that checklist is not presented, you don't take the trade, right? Second is set your hard daily loss limit. So instead of just coming to the market blindly, not having a limitation for the day, tell yourself, okay, you know what? If I lose this amount of money for the day, I'm gonna call it a day, right? So having this will be super helpful. And then journal every single trade and grade your execution daily, right? You don't need more discipline. You need a system that can't break. And if you have a system that can't break, if you have this system that you create that you can replicate every single day, the discipline will just come to you naturally. I'm telling you that. Lastly, I want to leave you with this point here. Losses are not the real problem, but the how you react to the loss is the problem, right? So every professional trader loses. The difference is what they do after. Losses are the cost of doing business. Any business in this world will have cost, expenses, right? And no strategy is 100%. A losing trade that followed all your rules is not a failure. It is the expected operation cost of your system. You pay to run the business, and losses are your cost, right? A loss only becomes a problem when you react to it, right? The loss itself is neutral. What destroys your account and what blows up your trading is the reaction that you give after taking a loss. Revenge trading, oversizing, skipping the checklist, quitting, right? And I have been through all this, and I'm telling you that this is not the way to go. You need to stay neutral, let the loss come, let it go easy, and even with the wins, right? Let the win come, let it go easy, be neutral. Do not get emotional over a losing trade, because as I said, losing is part of the game. Your job as a trader is to not avoid losses. As a risk manager, right? Trader is also a risk manager, right? Our job is to manage the loss. Focus on keeping every loss within your predefined risk, right? So as I said, having a checklist earlier, predefined risk, right? A contained loss is a managed loss. A managed loss is a professional loss. That is the entire goal for trading, right? So lastly, after taking a loss, do not trade immediately. You want to settle down and clear your head, right? Review the trade. Did you follow your rules? Was your checklist aligned? And then move on to the next trade. Okay? So that is pretty much it for this video. I hope this video was informative. If you guys found it helpful, leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.